So we are celebrating World Water Day today, March 22nd, and we
Yeah,
have the honor of having Zac, who's one of our project workers, live from Uganda, East Africa. I know, Zac, you had some issues in the last 24 hours with power, very common in countries like you're living. But thank you for joining us on World Water Day. And I want to introduce you, Zac. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, and then we can talk about the issues around water that you have seen, and
yeah.
how you value water as somebody that's living in East Africa. And then we want to talk about the farm project, a project that we initiated last year with you, and the importance of water in that project as well. So, Zac,
Yeah.
tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about you.
Yeah,
We, we,
thank you,
we've been
Tim.
working with you for, it's hard to believe, 9 years now, Zac.
Yeah, yes,
And
nine
it's been
years.
incredible. And I thought, why don't we get Zac online? We get Zac to tell us firsthand kind of his valuing of water.
Okay, thank you, Tim. I'm very, very glad and honored to be given the opportunity
Yeah,
to share with you, and also want to wish the entire world blessed Water Day.
that's great.
It's so much a blessing. Zac Mulawa is my name from Uganda, and yeah, we met with H2O for All way back in 2013 when I was still lecturing at Uganda Christian University and working with Save the Mothers. Besides that, I've enjoyed doing community work, community projects, and this is the area we've been working with H2O for All for the last 9 years. And I continue working in such capacities, helping and mobilizing the communities for better living. So I'm very, very glad that I'm honored to be part of the celebrations for this year
That's right.
and
Yeah,
being hosted by you. Yeah, coming back to the topic, how important water is, I should say that one, like the saying goes, water is life. And surely I agree with that. Water is life. Unless when it comes to Uganda, they tell you water is life when you're not living in some areas, because every time it rains, water becomes a disaster. So
that's right.
it,
Yeah, too
yeah,
much.
it takes away life. So
Yeah,
sometimes they make that joke. Water is life when you're not living in such and such a place. But that said, right from the household, uh, every person values water, and it is such tremendous on seeing how much people try to look at water, and the fact that we have lots of water as a country. Unfortunately, as households, our access is
right,
very limited.
right.
And to those that try to actually get the water, it may not be the safest that they could be using. But still, the joy and the happiness is that at least they can access water and go
Yeah,
through the struggle of either boiling it to make it safe. Those that can afford, sometimes they either sieve, or they there are various ways through which they have tried to make it safe for their health.
yeah,
We've talked about boiling. We've talked about purifying it through different means. So they know that water is important for their health. We know that it's important for our health, and therefore we need to take it safe. That said, right from drinking, bathing, washing utensils, for general house cleanliness, there are some of the things that we use water for. When you get to schools, it's even serious. Uh, the fact that a few schools that can afford piped water they are pretty lucky. Others have to walk they have school programs of fetching water in the morning and in the evening. So students have to walk kilometers, close to 2 or 3 kilometers, to go fetch water for school use.
Right.
And that's how important it is, that it's part of school, some school programs to go fetch water. For example, for some of the schools we've come in to support and help. The moment children come in the morning, they have to fetch water that they will use throughout the day. So that becomes a very, very important aspect in their lives. They know that they can't start a day or end a day without water reserved for them. When you go to other public places like hospitals, if a hospital didn't have water, you're going to have a high rate of infections. And I mean, I'm saying if, but that's what it is in Uganda. There are facilities that have not had the running water. And the rate of infection is so high that mothers, children going to the hospital better off, but rather acquire more infections while in the hospital. If not, they are faced with the charges that are almost half of what they are paying as hospital bills, just in footing water bills. So for example, if a mother went to the river and they want about 3 or 4 jerrycans of water, and each is going for 500 shillings, yes, it may seem little money from the outside, but to this particular family that is in there and is struggling, it's a burden onto them. So in such a facility, it becomes a burden not to have running water in there. So I can choose to go low, but those things mean a lot in a life of a daily Ugandan, in a life of the daily person, that if there is no water that is running, it is a problem. Now, one thing that we've realized, like one time, we were doing a research, and we realized that I think it's in Uganda where even after it has rained, people get jerrycans to run to the well to fetch water.
Yes.
Our water storage, collection and storage is not very good. We get water for use, temporary use, like immediate use. The storage is not very good. Now, the challenge that comes with this system is that even when people choose to go, it instead increases the risk of fetching the water. It is largely to the it is largely a responsibility of the women, and probably have to be children. So women, and if they are boys, they have their little children. It is rare to find the men going to fetch water for home. Instead, they would be, if they went to fetch water, it would be for selling. Now, the risk that comes with this important activity is that since they walk for long distances, they find lots of challenges. One, sometimes they are raped on their way. There are several abuses that happen to these young girls and women while they go to fetch water. So you realize that in the process of finding this so much important item or property at home, there are lots of risks that are involved. And over time, we've realized that just bringing water closer to people would help reduce on a number of abuses that young girls and women face. Now, those may not be direct benefits of water, but you realize that out of them, like in Uganda, we have high rates of child sacrifice, the early pregnancies, like teenage pregnancies. These usually happen when these children have gone for water.
Right.
So you realize that it's an indirect like harm to the people that people may not look at when they are discussing the importance of water. But
Yeah.
bring it closer, surely would sort a number of problems that we may not be able to see.
And that's the interesting point that you're bringing up. So you brought a few things that right away in this discussion, that during rainy seasons you have a lot of water, right?
Yeah.
But you have too much
Yes.
water, and then you're also having contamination of the water. So
Yes.
sometimes people think, well, it's, they just can't find water. Sometimes it's the water that people are finding is unclean and contaminated, which creates health issues. And then the other point that you're bringing up, which I think is great, is that access to proper water is an issue. The
Yes.
journey, especially of young girls and children and women going to get water is an issue. So, sometimes one of the reasons we wanted you to have this discussion today on World Water Day is that across the world we need to think more about how we value water, and that's the theme of World Water Day, is how we value water. So Zac, we have a couple more minutes, and I do want to kind of just talk about a project that you've led at Mwoto Village about how water is also critical to agriculture or food security, that using water can actually be utilized to grow nutritious food for our community. So why don't you take a minute or two and talk a little bit about that project and that importance of getting water to a piece of land to be able to irrigate it, grow the crops, and do that. Because we've been running that project with you for just going into our second year now.
Yes, thank you, Tim. That also gives me the joy to talk about 2019, 2020, I think, is when we went to Mwoto, and as we were installing the solar powered pump, we also realized that they had lots of land that wasn't utilized. And the question was, why? You have this land, but you can't run a farm and an agricultural activity that would support you. And it was so clear that with the change in the climate, the change in the weather, it wasn't favorable. We were receiving much sunshine as compared to the rains. So every time, and I think it affected not only Mwoto village, but a large part of Uganda, that most people that had planted their crops, they had dried up in the soils and had failed to come out. So at that point, we say, now that we are providing water and it's there in plenty, when it rains, we can harvest. When it shines, we can pump water. We said, let's run the agricultural part of the school. So we started a farm that ideally put in lots of crops, corn, bananas, and fruit trees. I think as we talk, we've already seen about 2 harvests since last year when we started of corn. And surely the school has been rejoicing because now they've been able to feed the few students that reported back to complete their school. At least the school has not struggled to feed them. Just from the little start we started with. I mean, that is already the impact that it's having. So the ability to open people's eyes that you can irrigate and actually support the natural system or the natural rain to water or to help the plants grow is something that people need to get into. In Uganda, like I said, we rarely store water because people don't have the tanks, the drums, and so on. But in Mwoto, realize that it's possible. we've just started on a program that we are able to irrigate our crops, our fruit trees, our banana, and the farm is doing good.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
we hope to increase, and we want to make it self-sustaining. But water provision of water has been the first step to self-sustainability of the farm, because we know that we are not scared that it's so much hot and our crops are going to dry out. So it's been a blessing, and I'm sure to others, the closer you bring water to your farm, the better the yields are going to be out of your farm.
Mm.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Zac. So it was great to have you live across the world in East Africa, and to be a part of today, World Water Day. And anything else you want to say as we close off this time in talking to you? And we do thank you. We have so many people to thank across the world that make the work of H2O for All possible. And the what I love about our vision of H2O for All, and it says it right in the name, H2O, water, is for everyone.
Yes.
And we work together to try to work on the ground in rural villages with the leadership, with the community, to see some of these projects and initiatives move forward. And that's the idea of what we started 13 years ago, is to go into communities, work with partners, work with people like you, Zac, who have were born in Uganda, raised in Uganda, know the culture in Uganda, and you're able to facilitate the work that we're doing. So very much appreciated, and send our regards to everyone. We have so many other things that we want to tell you, but any last words before we close off?
Thank you, Tim. I want to say thank you to H2O for All because you're doing such a tremendous work. I should say that in 2018, one of our hospitals had 0 infections and had 0 maternal deaths, and all was attributed to the good facility, or all that was happening, and the provision of water was one of those. So I want to say thank you to H2O for All, and to each and every single person that supports the work that you do. Thank you for getting down, and would want to wish the entire community or the entire world a happy Water Day. Thank
That's
you.
awesome, Zac. Thank you for making it. You're at 6 p.m. your time, 6:30. The sun is setting. You had some issues with electricity, but you pushed through. You got a data connection to come on live with us. All the things we take for granted where I live, right? I flip a switch, power's there. I open a tap, water's there. All of those things. And today, about World Water Day, is to recognize and to value those things. And I think it's awesome. So thank you so much. Again,
thank you
for being a part of today. We have other things happening today. We have reports coming on at noon Eastern from Francis in Kenya. He is at a school.
Yes.
At 1 o'clock, we're going to be in Magogo, Zac, with Deo.
Yeah.
And to close off our day, we're having Noemi from the Swiss Alps in France. Noemi is giving her water expertise on this subject. So we're happy about what's happening today. We're happy to celebrate World Water Day and have people like you, Zac, to be so supportive.